Hey everyone, I wanted to do, again, quick notes. So again, you might want to hit pause and go get your class notebook. Again, these notes will be a lot faster, I promise. But we are on multiplying exponents part 2. So you've already learned some of the rules about exponents and what they are, and then what to do when you have to multiply exponents with the same base. So remember, the rule for multiplying exponents with the same base is if we have b, I don't know what number b is, to the n times b to the m, then you add those two things together, right? B to the n plus m. Okay, and what we did is we did some like expanding and then bringing them back together, but this is the quick way to do it. So unfortunately, they're not always as simple as, let's say, 3 to the 4th power times 3, right? So if you expanded this, you would have boop, 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 3 times itself 4 times, and then this is once, right? And then that's 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 to the 5th. Or remember, we learned yesterday that if you don't see a number there, it does still have an exponent. The exponent is 1. And so you have 3 to the 4 plus 1 power, or exponent, which is 3 to the 5th. Same thing. Okay, but they're not always this simple with just two things. They often give us things that are a little bit more complex. So what do we do when that type of problem comes up? Well, the good news is you have all the tools. We just need to break them down a little bit. So when this happens, what we want to do is just kind of rearrange the problem. So what we want to do is well, let's see, split apart, combine, regroup. Okay, that's pretty much it. And spelling, of course. There we go. Split apart, combine, regroup. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have too many colors or not enough, you decide. Let's start a little simple, like 7p to the 4th times, so notice now I have a coefficient and then a variable with an exponent, 3p squared. So, or to the 2nd power, as you might say. Okay, so split apart. So splitting apart means that I want to put the numbers with the numbers and the p's with the p's, right? That's how they should be grouped. I can't actually do 7 times p because I don't know what p is. So instead, I'm going to bring these two things over and do 7 times 3. And then I'm going to split the p's over and do the multiplication with the p. So p to the 4th times p squared. So I've split them apart and kind of put them into separate groups. So 7 times 3 is just 21. So now I'm doing the combining. I'm doing the actual operation that I can do, which is two numbers. I can multiply those. Great, 21. P to the 4th and p squared, and you can expand it if you want, or you can use the little rule where it's p to the 4th plus 2, and that is p to the 6th. Okay, so now I've split them apart, I've combined those two things, and now I'm going to regroup. I'm simply just going to bring them back together. Now, the typical way we do it is numbers always, always, always come first. So the number comes first, and then variables come next. I always try to write the variables in alphabetical order because it just makes it a little bit easier for people. But since there's only one variable, there was not much to do. So there's your first example. Let's do one more like that, and then we'll get a little bit more complex, and then I think you'll be good to go. So let's do for example, whoopsies. I just kind of want to add ones in with the, yeah, here, 8x times 2x to the 4th. Okay, so now what we want to do is split them apart into the appropriate groups. So again, my 8 and my 2 are going to come together to be multiplied, so 8 times 2. And then my x's are going to go together. So x times x to the fourth. Okay, so 8 times 2 is 16. That's easy. And then here, just like up above where I threw out, remember, if you don't see an exponent, then the exponent's 1. Okay, so then we have x to the 1 plus 4, which is x to the 5th. Awesome. Now we bring them back together. 16x to the 5th. Okay, now seems pretty simple, but I'm going to put a little bit of a wrench in it and give you something slightly more complex, which just means add more variables, which means that there will be more groups to split up. So let's say, for example, we have um, 3ab squared times 10b squared. Okay, so now notice I have numbers 10 and 3 and two different variables. I have a and b squareds. So let's start with my numbers. So I have 3 and 10, and when I bring those together, I have 3 times 10, and that's 30. Okay, then I'm just going to start the variables, and I'm going to do it alphabetically. You don't have to do it in alphabetical order again. It's just a kind of a math understood rule that we do them in alphabetical order. So there's just one A. There's nothing for me to do, so I'm just going to leave that alone. And then I'm going to bring over the B's to their own little group. So I have B squared times B squared. Well, that is B to the 2 plus 2 power, which is B to the 4th. Okay, so now I've simplified all of these as much as I can, so I bring them all back together, and the number goes first, and then I just like to put these in alphabetical order, so then A, and then B to the 4th. And that is my combined or multiplied solution, okay? So again, we split them into parts that make sense to be together. So the numbers go together, the A's go together, which there was only one, and the B's go together. Then you actually do the operation and then bring them all back or regroup them at the end. So let's do one more of those. I'll make it slightly more complicated, but not crazy because we're not crazy. Let's do here, last example. 3x squared y cubed times 2x y to the 4th. All right, so again, start with the numbers. So we have 2 and 3. So we do 3 times 2, and that's just x. Easy peasy. Then, alphabetically, next is x. So x squared times just an x by itself. Okay, so again, you have to remember that there's a 1 here. That's why I wanted to teach you that first before I got to today. And then you add these two things together. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So x cubed. And then lastly, the y's. So then we have y cubed plus, nope, Azor, times, we're multiplying, times y to the 4th. Well, that's 3 y's there and 4 y's there. That's a total of 7 y's. There you go. Now we just put them all back together. So the number comes first, and then alphabetically x, and there's x cubed, and then y's, which is the 7th. Okay, and there you go. As long as you break it apart, you should be fine. Remember that if you don't see an exponent, then the exponent is 1, and use the rule that when you multiply them with the same base, so that's why I can't actually multiply my x squared times my y cubed, because those are two different bases. But when I put my x's together, that's the same base, so then I can add the exponents together. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay? And that's it. That's the whole thing. So go ahead and do that and do the quiz is, and remember to repeat it to see if you can get at least 75. It's only like 10 to 15 questions. So good luck and let me know if you have any concerns. Bye.